Welcome to TruPowur, home of the most powerful marketing tools, training, and technology on planet Earth. Get ready to earn, enjoy, and experience more than you ever dreamed was possible. If you're tired of just getting by and ready to really thrive, then buckle in and listen up. Here's your host, Matt Fox.
All right. Well, hello and welcome this fine day today on TruPowur Academy. And episode 257, we're going to be talking about some very interesting things that have to deal with available markets, market updates, some of the March spotlight updates, deal flow, and call time. So without any further ado, let me share my screen and let's jump right into it. So the first thing is when we're dealing with available markets and market updates, it's really important to know what market you're focusing on and what is it going to offer the customer when you're working with those customers. Is it going to give you the customer or you the broker or agent the availability to be able to provide additional assets or services that we provide? And so you can get a quick view of that under the area where you request your customer leads for the CRM. And if you look at the markets, let me pull it up right here. So when you look at the available markets, they are listed here alphabetically by state, but each one of these primary services, we have a lot of ancillary services that we provide outside of these, but these are the main focuses that we make when we're talking to a customer. So the beginning, you have commercial utility audits, which is what we primarily focus on during business hours. That's when businesses are open. So we're contacting commercial customers about the utility audit. Each one of these is linked to that specific service. So the utility audit is where we provide value for the customer by looking at the utility, not the supplier. The utility is the one that sends the electric down the wire, performs all the emergency services. The supplier is the one that sets the rate for what you pay for that energy. And so when we do a utility audit, we're doing it at the utility level. So in that regards, it does not matter whether it's a regulated or deregulated market. So you can do that in all 50 states and Canada. Mind you, if you were doing a utility audit in, let's say, Alabama, then you really don't have any other services that you can provide that customer. And since utility audits do take some time, we kind of classify that as later money or tomorrow money. We want to create value for the customer, absolutely, but we also want to create some revenue for ourselves in that process. So focusing on areas where you can provide more than one service is going to be key in keeping your revenue flow moving forward. So the utility audit is something that is a much softer, friendlier, easier approach, and it's our door opener for commercial customers. Now, for those residential customers, we have the autopilot system, which is similar in cost centers. In other words, with the utility audit, we do electric, gas, water, trash, sewer. There's a lot of different cost centers that we provide services for on the audit, where we go backwards up to 4 years, identifying errors. And if there are any errors that are identified, we get that back as a refund for the customer. The autopilot doesn't go backwards, it goes forward. And it can be done for both residential and commercial. The autopilot is the system where we take all of their monthly bills minus their credit card, car payment, and mortgage. All of their other bills, water, trash, sewer, electric, natural gas, cable, cell phone, any bill that they have, we take those bills and we don't switch any of their services. So for people who don't want to switch anything, that's perfect, because we take their usage and add it to our aggregated usage. And typically on a residential customer, it can provide upwards of $400 to $1,700 worth of savings per year. So that's a huge benefit. So in this regards, between the commercial utility audit, the commercial and residential autopilot, then we can do that in all 50 states in Canada. So that's available across the board. Where things get a little more unique and customizable and bring you a little bit quicker revenue is when you start looking at pricing at the supplier level. So the supplier level is the one who sets the rate for what we pay for that energy. And there are a couple of ways that we go about that. One is we look at the matrix pricing, which is basically the published rate that each supplier offers in each state or each area or utility. The custom pricing or the reverse auction for commercial customers is unique because we're putting that information into the system, letting those suppliers bid one against each other over the course of 3 days, potentially driving that price below market, providing the customer a unique opportunity where they're able to lock in a rate that is below the published rate or the matrix rate. So matrix is available for both residential and commercial. You can see that right here. Custom pricing is only available for commercial customers. Now, the matrix pricing is only available for a smaller footprint of customers. So if we go into our back office of the pricing platform and we look at the market overview, you can see that by default, the map shows the commercial market custom price. So these are all the states that we can do custom pricing. Matrix pricing is a much smaller footprint for both residential and commercial. So you can see a lot of those states dropped out. So sometimes when you're doing a utility audit in, let's say, a state that is like Colorado for natural gas, and you're trying to create a proposal, it's not going to be available because the proposal is generated off of matrix pricing. So these are going to be your primary states that are going to provide you the ability to move that needle forward a little quicker. Same thing with the residential market. It is only matrix pricing. So one of the things that you want to keep in mind is when you're looking at what states should I be targeting, is taking a look at what are the next best steps, not only for the customer, but for you as their energy advisor. So looking at that is a huge help. Now, we can make it easy by looking at the market updates. The market updates is where we take the analytics is automatically run on a daily basis, and then it creates this report so that you know where the best markets are. So if you're looking at commercial electricity, these are going to be the states that are going to provide the greatest amount of value, the greatest amount of impact for the customer. So you'll notice that these are all driven off of matrix price areas. So same thing for commercial natural gas, residential electric, residential natural gas. and you'll always see any of the auctions or reverse auctions or custom pricing results will be posted. Obviously, these took place 3 days earlier, so you're seeing something that started sooner, and then these are the results. And so sometimes you're going to use this as a barometer to be able to judge, do I go into Illinois or do I go in Ohio or New York, based on whatever information is up here and is available. So that helps you make some decisions when you're requesting leads be added to your CRM so that you're able to focus on areas where you're not just doing the utility audit and then there's nothing else left to do. So we want to make sure that we have that deal flow so that you can provide value for the customer at more than one level, because odds are if they have submitted a bill for a utility audit, then immediately we're going to enter that into the system if it's applicable, and look at an opportunity to see if there are some additional savings that can be applied to that customer through the supplier side of the market. So it's really important to keep that in mind. And then we have our solar services that we'll cover here in just a moment. Now, I have created a list here. So if you click right here, this will pull down the PDF. That PDF is 2 pages. The front page is listed based by alphabetical order by the state. The second page is grouping things based on what states offer the most amount of additional services for your customers. So, for example, in Illinois, you can do the utility audit, autopilot, commercial custom auctions or custom pricing for both electric and gas, commercial matrix for electric, residential matrix, electric and natural gas. And then, of course, the community solar farm is available and the residential solar install is available. So it's really important that you take a lot of this in mind. It's not that you can't work in states that don't offer any other additional services, but I don't think I would focus 100% on that, because you may wait a month or two to find out that there were no errors on that utility audit. And then so a lot of time was spent waiting for results that may not come for that. So having the next best step is going to provide you additional assets for your customer as well as your income. Obviously, that's why we do what we do. Now, having said that, I think that it's important to note that TruPowur is a platform, and we have a lot of technology. We sell a lot of electricity accounts. We sell a lot of natural gas accounts. We do a lot of utility, solar, all of those things. All of everything that what we do is run through a platform that provides a value for the customer, and it provides value for you because a lot of those things are automated. So when you look at the utility audit, we have really had so many audits that are coming in, which means everybody's doing a great job. And so we have actually just recently hired in some new auditors. So that is going to help pick that timeline up and reduce the amount of time that we spend doing utility audits. We're looking at trying to get that down to about 4 to 6 weeks rather than 3 to 4 months. So that's going to be huge for your customers as well as you. So the other thing is the autopilot. Autopilot looks at the bills moving forward. It doesn't switch anything. And so that's a good avenue for both residential and commercial customers as next best step. So if you do have some states that you're calling on because of just maybe you want to have some additional states that you want to call in that are in different time zones based on wherever it is that you are located, then don't forget to take advantage of the autopilot as one of the next best steps to provide value for that customer. When you enter that in there, the customer is going to get a notification letting them know that they have been entered into the system for evaluation to be able to see if there's any additional savings that can be applied. They have to respond to that automated email that goes out to them. So just make them aware that they will receive an email notification that they need to respond to. The commercial custom pricing is straightforward. We've gone over that several times, and we'll go over it again in some future trainings. The commercial matrix and residential matrix pricing is very straightforward. The community solar farms is for areas where you have customers that have less than best credit. Maybe they're a renter. Maybe they live in a condo or an apartment or a trailer, cardboard box, a business owner on the 5th floor of a 10-story office building. Anybody who does not have free will access to the roof would be more inclined to be a candidate if it's offered for the community solar farm. We take their annual electric usage, tie it to the solar farm. The solar farm is actually going to pay that bill and issue them a statement of savings. So with the community solar farm, they don't have 100% offset. They're going to save 10 to 25% over what it is they were currently paying. So it's a huge benefit because they don't have to pay any money out of pocket. They don't have to install anything. So those things of having to install solar and wait all that time, you literally can get a customer set up in 5 minutes. So that's really a handy and a huge benefit for those people that don't qualify for residential solar. Now, the residential solar is handled through the Power portal. I want to be clear. Power is not owned by TruPowur. TruPowur is its own entity. Our main focus is electric and natural gas through 110 different suppliers nationwide in Canada. TruPowur doesn't own those suppliers, just like we don't own power, but we have access to that through all of our systems. So if you're wanting to be able to offer installed solar and make an average of $7,000 to $12,000 per household, look, an extra one deal a week can add another 25, 30,000 a month to your income. So that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. But I want to be clear, TruPowur does not own power. The names are somewhat the same. That's coincidental. But it does offer you the first rate opportunity to have the best products, the best services. Just like when we vet different suppliers, we want to make sure that we have suppliers that are going to be able to fulfill those contracts. And so when we look at different services like that to add into the system, we want to make sure that we're giving our customers a first-rate experience, first-rate services, and first-rate products. So anyway, so that is the residential solar install. So Power does require, unless you're going to be an ambassador for free, if you're going to be a part of and use the Power portal, it is $85 a month to start. And if you decide to go that route, you can let accounting or support know, and they will actually take that $85 that you spend on that additional portal and apply it to your current agent or broker license. So you're not spending more than what you are already. So that's a huge benefit. So in essence, we're taking care of that just in a different way. So these are the available markets by state. I would tell you to become familiar with those areas, looking at the market update so that you know exactly where to focus your attentions and where you're going to be able to provide your customers the greatest amount of impact. Now, we work from coast to coast. So that means that you have to kind of allocate your time a little bit and figure out, if you live on the West Coast and you're calling the East Coast, you have to take that time into consideration as to what it is or where you're calling, and then what services are going to be available in those marketplaces. And so during business hours, primarily, even though there are more people today that are working from home, predominantly, we're calling on commercial customers during commercial business hours, their time. Doesn't matter where you are. And then residential customers may be a little bit earlier in the morning, but typically after 5 o'clock, their time, up till about 8 o'clock, their time, unless they've told you otherwise. The CRM and dialer is open and available 7 days a week. Personally, I don't make calls to customers unless they request it on Sunday. But for Saturday, that's a great time to reach out to people. And as you know, we have added some additional special leads just for the solar industry that are special homeowner leads. Now, we've noticed that some of those have actually had not quite as high as a response as what we anticipated. And I think a lot of that is attributed to people calling during business hours rather than after hours. But we have put in some queues so that some of the leads that we're actually supplying to you now predominantly focus on cell phone numbers rather than landlines. And so I think that will probably assist in getting more connections for you as well. So just wanted to give you some of those updates. So the deal flow for typical day in a life of an agent or a broker is going to be talking to utility or to commercial customers about a utility audit. Not talking about anything else. Don't throw the whole kitchen sink at a customer. It will overwhelm them, and then they'll tell you, send me some information. That means that you talk too much. Stick with the utility audit. Get a copy of the bill. When you do that, upload it to the auditors. And then simultaneously, we're going to put that into the pricing platform to see what, if and any, additional savings we can provide that customer at the supplier level. If they're over 100,000 kWh annually, then we'll take and look at, is there an opportunity to do more by doing a reverse auction and getting custom pricing for that. So, the deal flow, starting with the commercial utility audit, and then looking at the supplier side, and then, of course, looking at residential markets after hours. So keep in mind, those are your times and so forth. So I hope that makes sense to you. I did want to touch on some March Spotlight updates that we have available. And so I think we've talked about this once before, and that is the customer engagement. So your customers, it's already set up in the system. It's all automatic. You don't have to do anything, but your customers will renew their contracts if they feel valued. So, thoughtful efforts such as keeping in touch and saying the right things at the right time will improve relationships and increase your customer retention. So, our customer engagement feature is a series of white labeled professional AI managed content built for your customers that can increase your contract renewal rate by an average of 30%. So that's a huge benefit in making sure that things don't fall through the cracks. And this will enable you to maintain your relationships more effectively and engage with your customers on high value content. So I think that's really awesome. The next thing is layered purchasing. And we talked about this last year a little bit. I don't know if you've tried layered purchasing. What if you have a customer that says, what if the market goes against me if I buy today or if I buy now? The customer asks the question, time and time again. This is why we created layered purchasing, which allows your customers to purchase their energy partially in multiple layers using customizable behavioral market alerts. So these features is built on two scientific principles. One is loss of aversion bias, so that the customer weight loss is heavier than the gains. Then layered purchasing mitigates those big losses for your customers. Diversification reduces your market risk. Layering a purchase will diversify the purchase at any point of the time and make happier customers. So, for example, if you hedge 30% of their load and 30% of their risk will disappear. So sometimes when you get a customer that says, okay, my contract is going to expire in 18 months. I do see that you can provide me, savings over what I'm currently paying now. But if I move forward or if I wait, I may be forced to look at potentially, in our opinion, getting a higher rate in 18 months. So we want that customer to move forward today. But the customer has this feeling that in 18 months, the market will be lower than where it is today. And so they're going to want to wait. So by asking some discovery questions to find out what your customer is really feeling, say, hey, how sure are you in your feeling that the market will be lower in 18 months than what it is right now? 50% sure, 30% sure, 70% sure. Customer says, I think 70% sure that it'll be lower. Then we can take and layer that into two parts to where we take 70% of their contract and put that into an index. So if they're right, then it will benefit them. And the way we would do that is to put in an index and a fixed rate into a reverse auction. And then at the end of 3 days, we evaluate that and then visit back with the customer. And 9 times out of 10, that customer, if they were at 70% sure, you can just about bet 9 times out of 10, they're going to lower it because they don't really believe themselves. They're saying that to get you off of the phone because they just don't want to make a decision today. So layer pushing is not only a huge benefit in capitalizing on taking what the customer fears to your advantage, but it's also really good for taking those contracts that may be more applicable to a layered purchasing type of contract. So these are typically going to be for customers that are of larger caliber. And so keep that in mind when you are talking to customers. Now, we've been focusing a lot and working harder on fraud prevention. And we prioritize keeping you and your customers safe from fraudulent activity and clawbacks. Nobody wants that. And our new fraud detection practices, which ensures fewer of your customers are going to be erroneously flagged for fraud, provide better risk management for your book of business, and adhere to the compliance standards set forth by the different states' public utility commission. So just want to let you know that we are actively doing things to make sure that we're protecting you and your customers within the system. One of the last updates, which is kind of exciting, it's been a little while since we've had some new suppliers into the system, but we just added 3 new suppliers that are providing more choices and diversity for you and your customers. And so Genie, Spire, and Symmetry Energy offer competitive electric and natural gas rates across Texas, Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and some other states in part. So you'll probably start seeing those pop up. So we're always looking at vetting and adding new suppliers when they can provide more value to our customers. Let's open the floor for a little Q&A. And if you're watching this in a replay, obviously you know that we don't record the Q&A session. So if you do have questions, next time join us. So let me unmute everybody. Anyways, I appreciate everybody being on the call today. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So have fun storming the castle. Bye now.